welcome to this session today. I think it will be very interesting. So we'll start with the Mangalacharya. Om Jnana Timurandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So last time we listened to some audio files and spoke about binaural beats. And I shared in our WhatsApp group some files. So first I would like to ask if anybody would like to share experiences, if you had listened to it, if you tried it under different circumstances, if you tried it for relaxation, for japa, for anything else. If you want to share, please feel free.
Okay, so I have trouble getting asleep. Mm-hmm. So I tried the Theta and the Delta every night, and I can see the difference, which is that I feel relaxed, and I feel my body very grounded, and I fall asleep a little faster than before. And also, I use the pink and brown noise on a daily basis, and it's good. And then I use for japa, I use the wave sound.
Okay.
And that's really relaxing. Okay. I like it a lot.
Yeah, wave sound is Theta, so that's very nice. Anybody else like to share?
Even though I didn't experiment much, but in one of your previous classes you mentioned that Babaji said that even chanting twice or thrice Om before japa makes your mind more peaceful. So I also have a sleeping issue sometimes, as Janava ji has mentioned. So twice I tried when I wake up in the middle of the night, and I find it difficult to get asleep. I tried chanting Om like maybe 5-6 times, and it worked. It really worked.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. That is very interesting. And we did this exercise, which is here called resonant tuning, which can be either Om or any like humming sound, and that has that effect. It has effect on the vagus nerve, and it calms us down and it focuses out. It basically switches, the left side of our hemisphere, which is the one which is the storyteller, ahankara, or this chatter, this mind chatter. This is being calmed, and that is very helpful. And I would like to share with you my own experience with Babaji's encouragement, because it really has helped me a lot in my japa, and it has considerably improved. So I have a certain process, and you can take inspiration if you like. I use different tools and methods, and also sound. So what I find really important is first to have a dedicated place, like a dedicated seat. That's one place where you just do that, not here and there. So it's all about this, training the subconsciousness to focus on the mantra. That's very important. So I have one special asana for that. I sit in a special place. I also use these glasses, the whole glasses, where your focus is not divided. You just have these little holes, black glasses with holes. So I just look at the board, and then the sankalpa is very important. You start with sankalpa, intention setting. That's for any activity is very important. So intention is for the next hour, a focus on the mantra, or however long you do it. You set it, and every time you set it in your subconsciousness, I'm focusing on the mantra now. And then I'm doing that Om chanting, resonate tuning for some time to focus more. Then I'm doing a technique which is called reball, which is from Monroe Institute. This is one of the sound files we are going to listen to. It is basically also to put myself in an energy ball where I'm in my own energy, where I'm not getting distracted by energies from outside, and I put myself in a certain level of consciousness where the mind is wide awake and the body is, I don't feel the body. So with that, I can access very deep states very easily. Because previously what happened in our japa retreats, which we had quite a few, it happened a few times that I reached that state after, I don't know, 2 hours of japa or so. It happened only a few times. In Switzerland once, Manu was knocking at the door and I heard him knock and I couldn't move. My body, I just could not move. I was so absorbed. And because you feel yourself in the body but separate. And in that state, the mantra is just flowing. You get to a state where the mind is like a still sea, and it's as if you hear the mantra. You don't make any more effort, but you're just hearing it. And that is the state which we want to achieve, because there it's quite easy to really focus. And with this technique, plus with the sound, the last thing is then I'm listening to a certain frequency, and then I achieve that state much faster. And if I do get distracted, I imagine in my brain a switch in the left side of the brain, and I switch it off. I know this is the mind chatter, so I imagine the switch and it stops. And also it comes less, much less. So it's very helpful. So basically everybody has to find out for themselves, but for me it really works, and it's yeah, I just spoke about it. So I wanted to share this with you. Maybe you can take some inspiration from that. And with that, I would like to get into our slideshow. So we already spoke about that this is called consciousness attunement, that we use tools to put ourselves in a state of consciousness which we want to achieve. And that can be, if you want to do japa, then we focus. We focus, and we have to be in a very deep state. If we are in, like beta is a state where we are constantly distracted, like in a stressful mood. Alpha is the very relaxed state where we are creative, but also very relaxed. And then it's much easier to absorb also difficult subjects for learning, for example. It's very good to be in an alpha state of mind, because then we can absorb easier than beta. And if we go deeper into theta, that's a state in between wakefulness and sleep. So now I would like to do a small exercise, which I'm calling theta brain swing, which can put you in a state of theta, very, very deep state, very relaxed state, very easily. If you practice this, it can be done very easily, and you can do it all the time. You're not dependent on anything external. And if you're in any stressful situation, or if you just feel overwhelmed, you can immediately get into that state, and you feel like you can absorb much better. Your radiation, your perception increases. You can really feel the difference. So we'll just do this, and you can see for yourself. It's not exactly very pleasant to feel. It can be a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm just warning you that if you are not used to it, it's like training a new muscle. It may feel uncomfortable, even hurtful. So you have to try for yourself. It works. Nothing can go wrong. Nothing can happen. But you just do. We just try it. So we start by taking a very deep breath. Take a comfortable position. And if you like, you can close your eyes. Breathe in deeply and then exhale fully. Now imagine that your consciousness descends like an elevator through your entire body down into the earth. And you keep on breathing deeply. And when you take the next breath in, you visualize that small roots are spreading down into the earth, from your feet into the earth, intertwining with the earth. And when you're there, you take the energy of the earth back through the roots into your body. You ascend with it like an elevator rising all the way to the center of your head. And at the center of your head lies your pineal gland. And around the spot between your eyebrows, there is the third eye. So now you focus your attention in that spot in the middle of your skull. It's like if you draw a line between the two ears and the middle of your head and they meet there, you can imagine this spot. And you try to look to that spot inward. Your eyes internally are focusing on this spot inside your head, towards your pineal gland. And you may notice that your physical eyes are turning inside, and maybe you feel some flickering. Now imagine that looking upward from within towards your crown chakra, as if you're gazing through the top of your head with your eyes closed. From that point in the middle, in the center of the head, looking upward to your crown chakra. And for that you can lift your eyes slightly. Act as if you are physically looking up, and then your eyelids may be fluttering, which is actually a good sign. Try to move as much as possible up, as much as you can. You feel your physical eyes going up as much as you can, and your eyes cannot fall out and nothing can happen. Then bring your focus back to your pineal gland in the center of your head. And then you shift directly to the point between your eyebrows, the third eye. And when you're there, then turn back up to that crown chakra, to the center of your skull. It's like a swinging motion. First you look through the third eye and then up to your crown. And your eyes will naturally follow this movement internally. So do this a few times. You go up all the way to the middle of your skull, at the top of your head, your crown chakra. And then you move it forward to your third eye. And this may feel a little bit uncomfortable or even slightly painful, which is because of untrained muscle. But with practice, this discomfort will fade as the muscles will strengthen. And over time you will get used to it and you will even enjoy the effect. And eventually, with just a quick upward movement of the eyes, you will trigger this sensation to get this effect. So now move your focus back and forth a few times. And when you have done this, pause at the center of your head where the pineal gland is. And imagine that looking from this place in all directions, especially horizontally, and even towards the back of your head. Visualize an axis running through your head from ear to ear, and another one from the front to the back, with the pineal gland at the center. And imagine your awareness expanding along this axis. creating a full inner panoramic view. As you do this, let the space inside your head grow larger, creating more room for your consciousness. Imagine your head growing larger. And keep on breathing. Don't forget to breathe. And then lift your eyes upward one more time. And then forward. And then gently open your eyes with a very soft panoramic gaze. Don't fixate it on anything. Let it just take the entire space. Let your vision be broad and expansive. And notice how you feel, how your gaze has changed, how much calmer you have become. That is the purpose of this exercise. And the more often you do that, the quicker you will get the effect of the calming. How did it feel? Was it uncomfortable? Yes. For some it was, yeah. So for some it's like, some people have more trained muscles, some less. So it's a personal choice. I mean, you can use this method, and it's a nice way to, without any external means, you can just get into a very relaxed state.
What is the muscle you are speaking about?
Which muscle?
Yes.
The eyes. The eyes, because you're not used to moving your eyes so much up that they are practically out of your, getting into your skull. So this movement of the eyes, you close your eyes, but with closed eyes you go up, 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 and then, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was difficult to imagine a swing, because this swing is like really like going like, usually you don't expect like a swing to go so high.
So it's high, that point is very high. So you go from here to here, like this movement.
I was doing it the other way. It was more like this instead of like that.
Okay, it's still.
It was supposed to be from here and then
from the center, from your third eye, all the way to the middle and up.
To the
middle, to your crown chakra.
Yeah.
Which is here, like the skull, and then from there, out. So from here, up, and then.
Okay, like
this, yeah, this.
Going to the back of the head and up, not so much in front.
Yes, yeah, not in front. Inside, you go in the middle, and from inside up.
Okay, I was doing it wrong then.
Okay, no problem. You can try. Okay, so now, we'll talk about a place where these states of expanded awareness have been systematically studied and applied. So this is the Monroe Institute of Applied Sciences, and their goals are the explorations of the effects of sound frequencies on consciousness to synchronize brain hemispheres and induce altered states of awareness. So what we have spoken in the last sessions about how in ancient times, even in the temples, ringing two bells has this effect, all this kirtan, so many practices. Every religion has practices to put people into that state where they are receptive for the divine, like prayers, chanting, all these things. In every religion has that. So that is a state where we open our awareness to outside of ourselves. The focus goes from ourselves to what we want to receive. And this can be done by meditation, of course, by various means. And the Monroe Institute has done this with sound frequencies. They have developed hemisync sounds, and we'll speak a little bit more. I want to take a little more time here, because what came out of this is extremely interesting, because a lot of what we read in Shastra has been experienced here by people who have no clue, no idea, have never heard anything about what we read in our Shastras, our philosophy. They have just had the experience. That's why I'm fascinated with it, and I have, taken all the points which are really one-to-one. What we're learning in Shastra has been experienced here. So we'll listen to various video excerpts, and it's a little journey, so please bear with me. The only dogma which they have is, I'm more than my physical body, because that is what you experience when you do that. Everybody who's doing that experiences that. So if you don't accept that, then that's the wrong place.
Experience what?
Experience this altered state of consciousness. I mean, experience the states of consciousness which are here experimented with. If you don't accept that you're more than your physical body, then you cannot get out of your body.
Sorry.
Let us listen to Robert Monroe. He explains how he got into that.
It was 32 years ago that I first got into this field. How did I get into this field? By accident, sort of like the monkey who fell out of the tree. My company, which I had at the time, was involved up until 1956 in very extensive network radio programs, which means dramatic programs for radio nationwide and overseas. And in 1956 we had the choice of whether we converted all the way into television. And so we had started to do so until we discovered a very interesting thing. Now, we had been doing these radio programs for many years, and what we discovered was that it was like seeing a movie all over again. It was this is where we came in, because we were taking exactly the same thing that we had done 8 to 10 years earlier and putting a picture to it. It was nothing more to us than radio with a picture. So we did not think that we wanted to go through this all over again. There must be something better to do than to go into television. And we had already 2 quiz shows in television and found that this was nice, but there must be something better. So as the head of the company, and knowing in American language, we have something that says you pass the buck. The buck ends with the president of the company, the responsibility, as does the authority. So I decided we would try something else, and being very professional in sound, we naturally began to think of some way to use sound as a new means of a new direction for our company. And what we first came up with and started conducting in our research and development division of our company was how to help people learn while they are asleep. Very interesting parable that all the way back in 1956 we started conducting studies how to do this. And the first problem is how to get people to sleep. Because you can't take a subject and say, now go to sleep. You have to, and you do not want to give them chemicals or drugs to go to sleep, because that won't serve the purpose. So we began to use sound to help people to get to sleep. And that's how we first began to get into the technology of what we have since become. But along the way, a very interesting thing took place. In that research pattern, I was the chief subject because I demanded it, because I was very curious. So as the chief subject in all of these patterns of finding ways to help people go to sleep by sound use, evidently I absorbed something. Because in 1958 then, I had this great, frightening, terrifying change take place in my life. And I have written about this, as you know, in several books, and it's very, I guess, common knowledge even throughout the world because the books have been translated into various languages. But simply put, at that time I began to experience moving out of my body, and that was the final thing of something that had begun a year at least or more before that time. I began to have, quote, dreams about, and I was an airplane pilot, so you can understand how that would take place. I began to have dreams about taxiing to the runway on an airport and getting the plane off the ground, and once I got it off the ground, that I would look up and here are all these wires. It was as if one were flying down a street, and there were all these power lines overhead and telephone lines, and you couldn't find a hole to get out of it. And that dream had gone on, a recurring dream for at least a year. And then, shortly before this big thing took place in '58, I also began to experience a funny kind of vibration. And I went to it was as if my body were shaking, but there was no feeling of shaking. It was just internal. And I went hurrying to my favorite doctor, and he examined me and says, "Oh, you are working too hard. You are stress-filled, but there's nothing wrong with you. Go take a pill and relax or something." Well, not necessarily being a pill taker, that did not work too well. But in any event, after many times, like 25 or 30 more times of experiencing this vibration, I thought, well, and fighting to get out of it is the point. I just pull myself away from this vibration. The next step was, well, this will never get anywhere. I'm too frightened about it. If it's going to kill me, let it kill me. So with that in mind, one particular afternoon when I was lying down, I said, all right, fine. The vibration came. If it's going to kill me, let it kill me. So I waited and waited and waited. And after a while, after about 5 minutes, it faded away. And I was still alive. So I thought, now I know it won't kill me. So I'm on safe ground. So after that, I began to simply let it happen and wait that 5 minutes so I could do something. And on this one famous night, as we're in 1958, I was lying in bed on a Friday night, waiting for this vibration to end so I could go to sleep. And as I was lying there, thinking about what I was going to do the next day, while this vibration got through doing what it was supposed to do, I was thinking how nice Saturday morning was going to be, because we had had what we call a cold front come through, and there would be strong northwest winds, and there would be great thermal action. So being much into sailplanes and gliders at that time, the soaring was going to be tremendous. And as a result, this was my sense of great joy and anticipation as I was waiting for this vibration to end. And as I waited and waited and thought how nice this is going to be, suddenly I felt something bumping against my shoulder. And that, of course, is part of the history when I discovered that what I was bumping against was the ceiling of my bedroom. And that bumping turned around, and I did not know where I was till I saw this funny sort of a fountain coming out of what I thought was the floor. And I thought, where am I? This is a funny kind of dream. And I looked more closely, and I thought, there's something terribly wrong. This is not a fountain, this is the chandelier, the light fixture coming out of the ceiling. So I looked around, and sure enough, down there in the bed below me was my wife lying in bed, and beside her was a man in bed. And I says, what kind of dream is this? This is a strange dream. Whom would I think of who would be in bed with my wife? And I said, I can't resist finding out. So I moved a little closer, and then this great shock came over me, because the person in bed with my wife was me. And then the fright came, the terror. What am I doing? Am I dying? Let me get back, quick, something. So I went through the air like this, swimming through the air to get back in the body, and pang, got back in the body. That was the first time. that I in turn found out. And then very quickly I sat up and everything was quiet. My heart was racing because I was excited, but everything else was fine. My wife's asleep, quiet, nothing, no problem. So that is exactly how it began, all the way back in 1958.
So, I don't know if any of you knows Robert Monroe. I consider him one of the great people of the last century. He's not as known as he should be because he has developed amazing tools which are really useful for human plus tool. That's the last thing he did, which you can use for any kind of what you want to achieve. Either better learning, better sleeping, many things. Exactly, better focus. Because these are very powerful tools, he did not want to make them so broadly available that they could be misused. So this is, I think, one of the reasons why it didn't become so popular at his time, because he did not want to misuse. And we'll see later that the CIA came to him and they were investigating, and there's a very funny video, which I don't know if you have time today, but how the Stargate project of the CIA started. Yeah, it's an amazing story. So I have just written down his conclusions from his first book, which all match with what we understand, which is one, that the consciousness is a continuum. We don't lose it when we transition into another state. We are indestructible and unending. And we return to the physical world because of emotional attachment to people, places, things, and desires that we want to fulfill. And then third, creation is a play. The universe is multi-dimensional, which is very interesting because there are unlimited lokas. And that's something which, especially after death, that we'll see how people go to that place where their mind is focused on, exactly what they experience, what they expect. And according to their religion is exactly where they go. And the physical body is but a machine for the use of I, and the second body exists interspersed or in a conjunction with the physical body, and there thoughts immediately become action and form can change. That's also a very important factor, how thoughts immediately materialize, and how important it is that we are aware of our thoughts. We already had this exercise, how our thoughts influence us, but in another state, not in this 3D world, but in finer states, in like across the veil, it's much more prevalent. And you may know this story of a man sitting in Vaikuntha under a kalpavriksha tree, who's dreaming, oh, may I have a nice meal, and then he eats a meal. Oh, it would be so nice if I had a nice bed, and he's lying in the bed. Oh, I hope no tiger comes, and then tiger comes and eats him up. Just to make that point, how thoughts immediately become materialized. I want to explain to you the technology that was used so that these amazing experiences could happen. Because if I just play it, you will not understand the full impact. So I'm just reading from his book how they set it up. So the laboratory consisted of a one-story building designed for the purpose and including 2 offices, lounge, and research wing. In the wing were an instrument or control room, 3 isolation booths, and a briefing room. All 3 booths were connected independently to the control room for both physiological monitoring and the delivery of various types of audio and electromagnetic signals to stimulate a response from a volunteer subject in a booth. So it was set up very scientifically to understand what is happening if you put somebody in a very, very deep state of consciousness where they are in delta state, where they are usually in deep sleep. Delta state is a state of sleep where you have no experience, deep sleep. So what he did was that he put these people to sleep, but at the same time keep their mind awake so that they can relate their experiences. And there were only very few people who were able to speak to speak. In order to communicate, better waves are needed. So these people were in an alpha state, and that was all controlled. You could see it on the monitor. So that it was set up in a way that they put the audio signals into the headphones of the person in the booth, and there was a control room, and they could see exactly on the monitor their brain waves. They knew whether they were just drifting into sleep, or whether they were distracted, or whether they were in the delta. And a few people were able to keep some parts of the brain in beta and report back. And this is how that Explorer series started, because they were able to get into realms which are in the non-physical world and communicate with beings there and communicate it back to the control room. So there could be conversations, and that is what's really, really interesting. So he explains that most people came after dinner, and then naturally they were tired, so they had to keep them awake, and in the borderland sleep state. And this resulted in the discovery of frequency following response, which permitted us to hold the subject in a certain state of consciousness between wakefulness and sleep for extended periods of time. So by controlling the brainwave frequency, we were able to help the subject relax, keep him awake, or put him to sleep. By cross-referencing the various effective frequencies among subjects, we slowly began to evolve combinations of sound frequencies that created FRRs, highly conducive to OOBs, or other unusual states of consciousness. So I want to give you here an example, which is a very amazing experience, of a volunteer in the booth in deep sleep, reporting back, and it's like a channeling. So that entity which comes from the other side is communicating with Robert Monroe. And it's about retrieving souls which are not aware that they have died. So there are many, he explains that there are many souls in that realm, and there are realms which are still more dense, more close to the physical world, and there are beings which want to help these souls make the transition.
We were speaking of in our last session, we spoke to you of the tie-in between the earth level of souls that have been in the earth and have stepped out of the physical body, but are very close to the earth. And in many cases, these souls are not aware that they are no longer in the physical body. However, these souls need help. There are many, many millions of souls that are surrounding the earth in the feeling that they are still in their physical body and are locked into a time zone. And it is necessary to some way to penetrate their time zone, to relate to them individually and talk with them and help them become aware that they are no longer in the physical body. There are different processes to take and different methods, and the sensitivity of the person that works with these souls is very important, because it is a type of a counseling session. It is important to help this soul be aware of the fact that they are no longer in the physical body, and therefore it is okay first to allow the soul to express themselves as to where they think they are in the time zone, to relate their situation and their personhood as they know it, and to first to express themselves fully as to their time level and the nature of their situation. And then as you can talk with this person and go into their reality and relate to them, and they often will relate to you out of because you are in the earth level, they are thinking they are still in the earth body, and therefore you can relate to them much more clearly than anyone from our dimension, because they are not aware of our presence. We send levels of light and energy continually into their thought forms, trying to penetrate and trying to get through to them. But often it takes someone from the earth level to make them aware of their situation, and then they can see the light. And if they realize that they have dropped the body and have died in earth terms, then we can take over and take the soul onto a level where we can help them to recuperate and then to get them adjusted into their new vibrations, into their new situation. Therefore, if you help a soul become aware of their earth situation and help them to turn them over to us, we are then able to work with the soul. Now, let me tell you that we can send these souls into this channel through a special light beam, a special ray of energy. We can send this soul, this personality, into this physical body. It is a special process, and when we work with these souls, we are able to do this. And then from the level of the earth body, from this physical body, the soul can speak through this channel, and then as a result, you can speak to this soul and help them to become aware of their situation. And once they are enlightened that they have died, often sometimes you must shock them into this realization if they cling to the fact that they think that they are still living in an earth body.
I'm just stopping it here because we don't have so much time left. He's explaining that, so this is the person who is being channeled.
Just a quick comment,
Yeah.
that because she's talking in terms of contacting the souls, but it seems to me they're just ghosts.
Yeah, these are subtle, of course. Soul, when that entity can only use the vocabulary which is in their, in these people's range. So when they say soul, it doesn't mean atma. It means the subtle body, ghost, a being who has dropped the physical body, who are in a subtle body, which, some people call it ghost retrieval. They call it actually ghost retrieval. So these are ghosts, you can say. And he explains also that they cannot reincarnate in that state. So that's why it's important before they can reincarnate with them. Yeah. So I'm going to play a second part where this happens. So it's going on, but I'm skipping otherwise it takes too long. I'm jumping now to the part where he's connecting with the specific soul to Robert Monroe. And then I'll play the soundtrack, the binaural beats of the introductory gateway experience, so that you have an idea about these Monroe sound waves, which are bringing people to that state.
Channeling.
This is a person who has died and you will see he died he feels that he's only for 9 hours, he's clinging to a log. He died in 1820, something like that. So at that time it was like 1980, maybe 1980. So for over 150 years, that person has been there, and he feels he has no clue. He says, "I'm here for." You will hear him 9 hours. And then Bob asks him. He said, "What is your name? Where do you come from?" And then then he's telling all these things.
So there are two people here. One is Monroe, and the lady is channeling.
The lady is exactly
this person.
She's the volunteer in the booth. She's in the delta state. She doesn't know what's going on. She has no clue. She's totally out. She's an instrument. She's in delta, and they monitor her. They see her brain waves in delta, which is deep sleep, but she's able to activate a few beta brain waves so that she can speak. Otherwise, she would not be able to speak. So she can, so that motory sense, to speak is there, but she doesn't know about it. But in that way, Bob can communicate, and all the explorers are, this is one I selected, but there are many, many more, and they channel all, very, very interesting stuff, all kind of entities across the whale who have no gross bodies and who give all kind of things. So this, let's see how this develops.
It's so cold. Oh, it's so cold out in this water. Oh, my God. Oh, God, if you can send someone. Oh, it's so cold. It just seems like I've been floating out here. Oh, for so many days. It's so cold and I don't see any of my shipmates.
But I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Who's calling?
This is a friend, and I can hear you.
It's Ed.
Yes.
Where are you? Are you floating?
Yes, and I'm not far from you.
Are you floating on a log?
I'm close to you.
The ship went down. It went down in the night. I've been floating out here.
Yes, and I can hear you, and you can talk to me now.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Where are you? It's so dark.
It's all right. I'm close by, but I can hear you if you talk.
I've been calling for help for at least 12 hours. I lost track of time.
What is your name?
But there was this explosion.
What is your name so I can talk to you?
Patrick.
Patrick?
Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's so good to hear a voice.
I'm glad I can talk to you, Patrick. What happened, Patrick?
I was in the kitchen preparing the evening meal, and all of a sudden it became very warm, and there was an explosion, and the next thing I knew, I was floating out in the darkness, and it was cold, and I grabbed a log, and I felt very alone. I haven't been able to see any of my
that's all right.
mates.
Mm-hmm. What is your address, and where was the kitchen? Where is the kitchen that this happened? Where was your home?
It is in the ship that I have worked in for several years, and I am from my native country of Scotland, and I have worked in the kitchen of my ship, and this is my means of making a living, and I spend at least 9 months of my year on the water, which is my natural habitat. Mm-hmm. But I don't like to spend my time in the water. It is very cold, and I have a fear of sharks.
I can understand that. What is the name of your ship?
My ship, it is the ship Larabelle. It is a small ship, and I have been fortunate to work on the Larabelle for several years. We transmit lumber and other materials from Scotland across the bay to other countries where there is a need of materials.
What port did you last sail from? Where did you just now sail from? What was the name of the port?
The port. My mind is not clear. It seems we sailed out of Ireland at the last time.
What was the name of the port that you sailed out from this last voyage? Where you began this last voyage?
It seems so long ago. My mind is not clear. We sailed. What year is it? It is in the 1879, and we sailed from Bar Bay Harbor, in Scotland.
Patrick, what's your last name?
O'Shaughnessy.
Oh, O'Shaughnessy. Oh, yes, that's a good name.
Friend, who are you? Where are you?
My name is Robert, and I am Scotch also.
Robert, I have been calling for help. How did you hear my call?
It was not hard. It was not hard.
I'm sorry. I don't.
Now, Robert, this is Robert speaking, and Patrick, I came to talk to you because you called and I came, so now you can hear me, and that's good.
Thank you. It's so dark out here. I'm holding onto a log, but it's so cold, and I don't see any of my shipmates. I don't see the ship. It was dark when I hit the water, and I grabbed the first thing that I could. I think I grabbed hold of a beam. But no, I called, and I haven't heard anyone heard your voice. I feel happy that you've answered.
That's fine, Patrick. Where were you born? Where were you born in Ireland? In Scotland?
Where was I born?
Mm-hmm.
I was born in a small village of Oban. A very small village.
What was your birth date?
I was born in 1821.
What part of Scotland was this little small?
It is in the northern part of Scotland.
In the northern part, mm-hmm.
There are many, I was born in the water. Yes, I just have been a sailor all my life, but I don't like to stay in the water this long. I must have been here overnight at least 12 hours, and it's so cold. I really, can you help?
Yes, let's see if we can get you out.
Can you get me out of the water?
I think we can.
Where are you? I can't see you.
Well, if you just listen to me very carefully, I believe we can get you out. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, it's a very cold. It's cold because it's in December.
First of all,
if you on a boat, can I reach for you?
You can reach and come to where I am and come to my friends. And one of the ways you can do this is, first of all, is your mother and father still alive?
Oh, no, my mother, my father, they died of a flu when I was yet a young lad. It was quite sad because we were such a close family. I have 4 brothers and sisters, and we were all quite young. And to lose our parents was so tragic. To see my parents again. I have called for their help, but I have not heard.
Well, look around.
I am so lost.
I think that if you look up above you somewhere, and look and remember how they looked, and look for them, and look above you somewhere, and I think you may see either your mother or your father, and you may hear their voice. Listen very carefully, and look up over you somewhere.
I barely have my head out of the water. If I could just see them. I think that I have been in a coma because I have seen flashes of faces around me, but I just know that I'm still alive, and I'm clinging to my log.
Well, one of the things you have to consider now, and then this is what I am here to help you do, help you find your mother and your father, because you are like them now. You are like them now.
I am like them?
Yeah, you are like them. You have graduated. You have grown, and you're ready to move into another place.
By golly, you mean that I am not? I am...
You no longer need to be. swimming in the water anymore. You can go much beyond that now.
By golly,
You
I
can.
don't need to hold on to the log.
No, let go of the log.
I'll let go of the log.
Let
and
go
see
of the
what
log
happens.
and see what happens.
I just feel relaxed. I must have. Are you saying that when the boat exploded that I died?
Yes, and it's not so bad. It's quite good, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'm still alive.
But you naturally are still alive. You do not die when your physical body dies.
I know.
And so you are free now to do many, many, many things that you never could do before.
I feel so light. I've been clinging to my log and to my life, my boat, my ship. I just have been clinging because that was all I ever had in my lifetime. My boat, my family, I can let go. And now
You can let go because you're free.
I'm free.
You're free.
I feel like I'm floating above the water.
You can do
I feel
that.
lighter.
You're free, beautifully, wonderfully free.
I see a hand who is reaching for me.
Just let this freedom come to you.
Is reaching for me. Oh, by golly. Who is reaching? Someone is reaching their hand out to me.
And there will be a light growing for you, and you'll be able to see in a new way.
Lighter. Oh, the darkness has lifted. I have released the ship. I have released. I feel like I'm floating. I'm floating above the water. I can see. I said my mother.
Yes,
It is my mother.
yes. And you can move on now.
So this was Patrick the sailor. And they researched, and it was found that in the 19th century, they called the kitchens in ships, they called them kitchen, because nowadays it's not called kitchen. And the place, they couldn't find the names of the persons, because at that time people, when they took birth, it was kept in the church and that burned down. But they could locate the place where he said he was born, the ship. So it was, and they do this with many of these retrieved souls. They try to trace them down, and they find that this person existed. So it's quite interesting.
It sounds like quite a hellish kind of existence, no?
Yeah, and he explains that also about exactly there's heaven and hell, and he himself has experienced that, all levels, because that sailor, he was attached to his log, and he couldn't let go. And he was in the water, and that was all he had, this attachment to the ship and the water, and that's why he was stuck there. He couldn't move there. So the state of consciousness at the time we leave the body is extremely, really, that's where we go.
That's good news.
Yeah, for us it's good news, because we can prepare, and that's what we're going, there's much more,
It's good news to attach to in our case.
Exactly.
Yeah, mantra.
I have a comment. It's great to hear this kind of research. I've never heard this before, but there's many recorded instances of exalted Vaishnavas like Prangopal Goswami and others, even in recent times. Such lost souls contacted them, and they told them what to do in order to get free from this. So they did it directly.
Wonderful. The question is, how can these lost souls contact them? Because usually, they're in a different state, but maybe such exalted beings are able to access that. Because if you remember here, he said we had to create a special channel so that we can bring the souls into that energy stem in a frequency, so that you can communicate. And he said we cannot communicate, he cannot perceive us, because it's a different energy level. But yeah. And of course we have to also be clear that this all happens within Mahatattva. This is all within Mahatattva. But there are places, there's no more time, but I have taken a few excerpts of Robert Monroe, his experience of heaven and hell. It's quite interesting. He has explored all these regions, and what he describes, these are different heavens which are experienced. And we'll hear a little bit later on from another person who speaks about very similar things. It's very similar from another person. So since time is already so advanced, I'm asking you, would you like to hear now, since you brought your earphones, shall we hear that soundtrack, at least the first maybe 6 minutes, and I'll share it in our WhatsApp group. If you're not yet a member, you can, I can add you to the group. I'll share the whole soundtrack there. This is the first part of 6 waves of Gateway Voyage, which has been developed by Monroe Institute, where people are led into different states of consciousness where they can experience a variety of things, various states, where you can ask questions, where you want to get guidance on, where you can connect with beings. So that is the introduction to that, so that people understand what's happening, how the frequencies are working. So I'm going to play this now I don't know, it's already 10, how long, 6 minutes is okay? Yeah?
I will hear it on the group.
No? Okay, you can, yeah. And it's good to hear it with the earphones because it is binaural. He's introducing the tools first. It's like the various tools which are used for every session.
as you listen to the sound of ocean surf, move your body into a more relaxed position. Release any tensions or strain points. Move into whatever position is best for you. The sound of ocean surf, of waves, a natural sound most people find pleasing and relaxing. It is a sound of natural energy, a natural energy always present when the ocean meets the shore, the sound of waves of energy in action. This is why it is a symbol at the beginning of each training exercise, because you are going to learn to use waves of your own natural energy. You will learn to focus these and direct these energy waves that even now are a natural part of you, waves of vibrational energy. Your heart, for example, is beating to create pulsations or waves of blood flow throughout your body, a slow vibration of energy at work. You breathe air in and out of your lungs, slow pulsing waves of energy you create and use. You talk, and you create faster waves of vibrational energy in the air around you. You listen as you're doing now, and your ear takes one vibrational energy and creates another that your brain can understand. All of these and many, many more are natural energy vibrations that you generate and use every moment you exist, and for the most part, you are not consciously aware of doing so. And that brings us to the point where we are right now. This exercise and others to come will help you learn to create and use consciously for your own mental and physical well-being such natural energy. You will learn to perceive it, to tune it, to focus it, to direct it whenever and wherever you so desire. You will be able to control it with your conscious mind rather than being controlled by its non-conscious activity. You can do this calmly and without fear, because it is only another part of you, because it is your own life energy belonging to you and to no one else. Many wonderful things can happen when you do control your own vibrational energy, and you will discover these as you progress through these training exercises. To help you develop your own coherent mind and brain, there are specific sounds you will hear, and it's important that you perceive how they work. This will demonstrate it. First, a tone in one ear. Notice that it is steady. It is even, without fluctuation. Now we will shut it off and place another slightly different tone in the other ear. Notice that it is also steady, even, without fluctuation. Now when I put the first tone back into the other ear, you will hear both at the same time. But there's a difference. You start to hear a wavering, a vibrato in the tone. When you hear this, your brain is beginning to act in unison. This greater, natural brain-mind power is what you will learn to use. So relax for a moment and explore this new feeling.
stop here because it's continuing. There are a few further commands and exercises, but as I said, I'm going to share this in our WhatsApp group, and you can listen and you can share your experiences if you like, in the group or here. Would anybody comment or have a concluding word on today's session? I have much more, of course, much more material which I wanted to share, and if you're interested, we'll continue with that next time.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So the effect of that sound is the calm mind, or what was the purpose of the sound? I mean, you
binaural beat. The first thing is to synchronize the brain halves, the right and the left hemisphere, which brings you automatically in a state of complete relaxation. Exactly. So you're first getting completely relaxed, and then there are different exercises. First the resonant tuning is the next thing which is coming, resonant tuning. Then he's giving an exercise to put all distracting thoughts into a box. You open a box. This is what I forgot to mention in my japa practice. This is what I do. I'll create a box. I'll open the box, and whichever distracting thoughts may come in the next hour, I put them in the box. So this is
create a balloon.
Exactly. So that's another technique. So that's what he's doing. I learned it from.
So this part you're gonna be listening, it specifically focuses only on relaxation part, right? Or is all the fingers there?
Oh, what? Andy?
It will focus the part you will send, the video with the 30-minute meditation. It will for relaxation part only, or it's entire
this is
fingers
only
there?
an introduction to the whole gateway experience, where he explains that there are different states of expanded awareness, which he calls. He gives them different numbers, levels of awareness, and you can, through the frequencies, you can reach these states. And at some point, it goes out of the material. There's a state of no time where you experience it. It's no time, and then there's a state like bridge in between the physical and the non-physical. So there are various levels which you can access. The first level, which he calls F10, is body asleep, mind awake. And from there, it continues, expanded awareness, and so on. So you can experience all that, and then you can have special healing, special guidance, special questions you have. You can. So it's development of, I would say, various aspects of personality development. Whatever you want to achieve, there are various exercises for that. Okay.
So I've been exposed to some alpha dynamic courses in the past, many years ago, and you can actually go into alpha and heal yourself. So is this kind of the similar, where you go into different states?
Yes.
But you can then do you teach how to go and heal yourself?
Yeah.
Because I know that there's a white light and then there's the rainbow.
He healing. So there are various. So there are various. He has 6 waves, and some of them are specifically for healing with colors. So you are in that deep state, usually deeper than alpha. It's theta state or very deep state, and then through visualization of colors and body techniques through your body, you can heal parts of your body and all kinds of. That's a part of it. Okay, so thank you very much for tolerating also the overtime. And we'll stop here.